Welcome back to Arise Prime Time. I'm Charles Anyegolu, and now straight away to informed analysis that makes sense of what you've heard on this program so far and distills with clarity Nigeria's topical political development so you can see the full picture. And helping us with that, the political commentator, Professor of Communications and Deputy Dean of the Postgraduate School at Bayes University in Abuja, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi. Thank you, Prof, for being there. Tell us. Let's start with the PDP.
Yeah.
Why has it come to this, in your assessment? Or how has it come to this?
I think it's some kind of problem. I think they are smarting from their experience in the last election. This is going to be their third experience of not being victorious at a general election, and of course you expect a backlash, considering all the ululation that preceded the general election, the G5 phenomenon, the fact that long before then, Governor Kwankwaso pulled out. Long before then, too, at some point, we had the Peter Obi pulling out. So against that background, they were still very hopeful. You can think they probably deserve some commendation at that level. They were still very hopeful that they were going to do well at this general election, considering the picture, the personnel of their presidential candidate. But of course, reality proved otherwise, and of course, the experience isn't quite pleasant, and so you expect them to smart from it, and you do not expect it not to further converge them, going back by how painful defeat can be in this country. What it means is that they're going to spend, probably, barring any other change, they're going to spend another 4 years in the lodge. They're going to spend another 4 years in the state of disquiet.
An identity crisis.
In the state of crisis, and of course, a lot more challenging to rebuild themselves and probably try to see how they can dislodge an opposition that is probably consolidating.
But do you think this should have come earlier, though? I mean, is it a bit late in coming? Because some would argue that you were talking about them smarting from the results of the election.
That's right,
some would argue the damage has already been done.
Yeah, I think earlier, of course, there were so many things that they could have done. We all saw what happened. So many things could have been done ahead of time, but they kept assuring us that they were a party for unification, and you couldn't doubt them because the election hadn't held. And if they were so sure, you don't know what they had up their sleeves. So until the actual game took place before we could draw a conclusion. And of course, the personnel of their presidential candidate is also tremendous. And if they are leveraging on that personnel to say that they can pull some string, stronger, that the personnel, as it then was stronger than that of Tinubu, and of course stronger than that of Obi, that was enough to give them the victory. You couldn't doubt them, but it turned out differently. So what they need to do now, unfortunately, that they are not doing, this is a time for introspection, not a time for infighting, for implosion like we're seeing now. And look at the caliber of people that are supposedly suspending: a former Senate President, Ayim Pawasayim, a former two-term governor of Ekiti State, what's his name, Oshokomole, the tall man, Fayose, those are people that you don't begin to use the stick, when you're supposed to be managing a crisis. But of course, we can see it also reverberating, hitting back at the chairman who probably began these moves, and
well, I mean,
the political sphere can be very convoluted, and it needs a lot of savviness, it needs a lot of emotional intelligence, a lot of wisdom.
Well, I mean, it sounds like they passed a vote of no confidence in him. I mean, given all of this.
Who passed the vote of no confidence?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying is that it sounds like it.
You see, brilliant Ladan that you spoke to said it was in the hands of Jacob or the voice of Esau, and that's the truth. Because it's not those men who came to announce that are actually behind it. You know definitely there's some powers, urging them on. So that's how the system works.
So in that context, do you expect that the PDP will go ahead and take advantage of this court order and get Mr. Ayu permanently removed?
Well, it's going to take the grace of God for him to come back to that seat, because I mean, there's a raging fight, and Governor Wike has said that he now has time for him. If he had no time for him, now he has no other job but to face him. And of course, he was even saying it today. He was in full glee today, celebrating the experience or the recent experience of Ayu. So I think Ayu probably did the noblest thing, just going out easily. And if I were you, or if I were in the position to advise him, I would just tell him not to bother anymore, because it's an elder statesman by any means, a former Senate president, former minister, you know, and of course, somebody who is almost a non-Nigerian. He shouldn't, this is not the time for him to put himself before people who will now begin to play with his reputation, you know. I think he can just begin to start resting and play the role of an advisor, you know, to younger ones, you know, not to bring himself to the table where they'll play chess with him. You know, it's gone beyond that.
Prof, thank you very much. I apologize that it was a very short
Thank
time,
you,
but you're always very good at making your points and making them succinctly but effectively.
I appreciate it.
Professor Abiodun Adeniyi is the political commentator, Professor of Communications and Deputy Dean of the Postgraduate School at Bayes University in Abuja. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye and thank you for watching.